Good morning, San Antonio. Welcome to Platica Politica. I'm your host, Robert Vargas III. We are on the air, and you can watch us streaming on Facebook and YouTube. We've got a great show lined up for you this morning. First, we'll be joined by Lindsay Andrews, a local transgender entertainer turned activist, who will share her coming out journey and what pride means to her and why visibility and advocacy matters now more than ever. Later in the program, we'll talk politics with Eric Holguin of Unidos USA, formerly National Council of La Raza. He'll discuss the findings of a recent poll examining how Latinos in Texas and across the country feel about the state of our nation, our economy, and our political system. We'll also welcome a good friend of mine, Jason Maciate, from an organization doing incredible work to support families whose children are battling cancer. He'll tell us about their mission and how our community can lend a helping hand. So stay tuned. It's coming up next on Platica Politica.
Está sintonizado. You are listening to Platica Politica. We're live on KEDA Radio Jalapeño 99.9 FM and 1540 AM and on Facebook Live. Stay here for the latest news, politics, and a little bit of chisme.
Hace generaciones, nuestras abuelas cruzaron fronteras con recetas guardadas en la memoria y tradiciones en el corazón. Pensaban en sobrevivir y en que sus hijos tuvieran un futuro mejor. Hoy somos la voz de quienes soñaron antes. Distintas voces y acentos, pero la misma determinación de seguir adelante. Este año no se trata solo de celebrar nuestra cultura, se trata de enseñarla, vivirla, reclamarla. Porque no somos una nota al pie de la historia norteamericana, somos parte de la historia americana.
All right, we are back on Platica Politica. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in San Antonio. Whether you're listening from Uvalde, Travis County, or Atascosa County, we are so glad that you're here. June is LGBTQ plus Pride Month, also known as Gay Pride, all across the United States. And so we celebrate today with Lindsay Andrews, the fabulous Lindsay Andrews. She's an entertainer. She is a fabulous community activist. How are you doing today, Lindsay?
I'm awake and I'm breathing and I'm happy.
I'm glad. And I'm glad that you could join us on this gorgeous Saturday morning. Lindsay, why is it important to celebrate Gay Pride? A lot of folks say, well, we don't have straight pride. Why do we have Gay Pride? What is that all about?
There's so much I can say just between that one little phrase. You know, straight people don't have straight pride. When nobody ever gets ridiculed for being straight, you know, sure. Nobody, and everybody always talks about that, you know, people want to, we are, you know, encouraging and we're trying to mold and we're trying to, you know, but if you think about it on the flip side, you know, straight people do the same thing to their kids. You're molding your kid into being a straight kid versus where I was not. So pride to me is just being my authentic self. As a transgender woman that grew up here in San Antonio, I found it very, I was in that timeline in between where things were okay, but yet still not okay. Sure. At like early 2000s where it was kind of becoming cool. Queer as Folk was out. You know, yeah. More people were more mainstream and really loving. But I mean, I remember still getting egged, you know, and walking to places. So, I mean, it's extremely important because the visibility needs to be there. And you know, just really living your truth, regardless if you're the L, the B, the G, the D, the QIA plus, two-spirited, you know, that questioning, you deserve to be you. And for me, pride is just being your authentic self and being exactly what it says, proud of who you are.
Absolutely. You know, I remember growing up, I don't know if we're the same age or not, but I won't even ask. But when I was 25. Growing up, yeah, you're 25. Yeah, you look it. I totally see it. Yeah, I am not 25. But I remember growing up and seeing Ellen on television and watching her and like the drama growing up in church and how people were just so scandalized and shocked that there was an out lesbian on TV.
Yeah, and that was just her sitcom. That wasn't even her TV show yet. Like, you know, and so, and again, it goes back to, that's why I feel like it's a responsibility of mine to carry so much because I've been the first of so many things, and giving with everything going on, it is, we need uplifting, great stories to be out and about and be proud of ourselves, because no matter what, we're resilient. We've gone a long way, and to see people like Ellen, on television help inspire me to be who I want to be. Of course, she's a lesbian. I'm not.
You're a happily married woman to a
I
fabulous
am. I am, my babe.
What inspires you to be out and living your authentic self? Like, what keeps you going?
Anger.
Yeah.
The anger it's the anger that I feel inside, that people, I've always been that person and I think most people can resonate with this, or like really like let it resonate with themselves. I've always been the one that says, when you tell me no, I'm gonna do it anyway. And when people tell me I don't have the right to exist, to be me, I had so many people when I was growing up tell me, oh, you're too cute to be, a woman. You're too cute to transition. You're too cute. No, don't do that. You're gonna regret it. And I knew deep down inside who I was and how I felt. And so the more people told me no, was the more I was like, I'm gonna be the woman that I'm destined to be. And this is what happened, And so that inspires me, that when people tell me, like, you have a current administration that is constantly trying to push down the T in LGBT, that fuels my fire. That gets me going. That makes me want to keep pushing to be a better person. When they try to be ugly towards, towards trans individuals, I find it to each his own. That's their opinion. That's their right. I'm fighting for the same right, and I would hope that they could give the same respect. But best and believe that I'm going to put up a fight, and I'm going to come back and have a rebuttal for everything that you try to tell me that is wrong with me. Because I'm pretty sure for every point that they try to say is wrong with me, I can turn around and say there's plenty of points that are wrong with them too. And I'm not talking personally. I'm just talking in general.
No, absolutely. Being out and being gay is one thing. That's one side of the coin. I think that for a lot of our listeners or people that are watching, many times they have children or they have family members that come out as LGBTQ+, and they don't know what they're supposed to do. And I always tell them, I understand that parents struggle when their kids come out, right? Because in their mind, they had a whole mission and a vision, and the what they thought was the wedding and the kids and all that stuff still can happen. It's just going to look a little different. What was it like for you? I got to meet your mom for a very brief moment, not long enough. But what was it like for you having a mom or a parent that was supportive of you?
Oh God, meant the world to me. I mean, I've been blessed to have had a mother that was, so loving. Now, I say this because, of course, it was after I transitioned that she really, really embraced who I was. She loved it. But at the beginning, she too struggled, and sometimes in periods in our lives where, when we did get into little tidbits and stuff, she would say, sometimes I miss my son. And I would sit there and say, well, I'm still the same person. Mm-hmm. I'm just, and then she would sit there and say, I know you are. And she would, continue on. And we would, continue to have a little banters back and forth. And I mean, it's like, and I hate to say it, it's like mourning the death of a person that you thought that was who you were bringing up. And it's understandable. You like you said, they had a vision of, and they had all these aspirations for them to grow up, to have children, to all that stuff, to do all these things. And in a way, it's, that portion of their dream is gone. And we too have to take that into consideration when we're transitioning. And I did. I took a step back and I told her, Mommy, this is who I am, and this is who I feel I am destined to be. Mm-hmm. And I sat down, and I think the great thing about it, one of the great things about it is having such an open-minded mother that she actually sat down and talked and listened, and not all the time was it a great conversation to have where it was calm and cool. We, as everybody does, we have our personalities, and we bumped heads at times, but it was those moments that actually bonded us and connected us, because she got a feel of my passion of who I was, where I was hurting, where I was coming from. And I also in tune got in turn got to see and hear her side. Far often are we just one-sided, and it's about me, and we can't be selfish. We got to remember those are still our parents. Those are people that loved us, and they're kind of going to continue to love us, no matter what.
Let me ask you this. People see the big, strong, fabulous human being. I shouldn't say big. That's rude. The larger-than-life human being that you become over the years. I mean, you're strong, you're fabulous. And there's other words that I could use, but we're on the radio, so I'm not going to use them. You're an amazing human being, and you're out there. But have you always been that way, or was there a point where you had to struggle within yourself in order to get?
And I'm going to get really honest with you. I still struggle. I still struggle with myself. Okay. People, I tell my husband this all the time, and it kind of gets me a little emotional because I still struggle with it. I sometimes don't think that I'm as big as people put me out to be. Sure. That I am. That I've had conversations with people, and they say, "Wow, I'm talking to a local celebrity." I don't see myself that way. I see myself as everybody else. I'm one of the people. I'm there in this community, and I struggle with that. I struggle with being true to myself. I'm talking about it a lot lately. I got to practice what I preach. Be proud of who I am, my accomplishments, and be the person that I'm destined to be. That that I just so happen to show up, But I have everyday struggles. I still have to put food on my table. I still have to pay for gas that is outrageously, priced. I still have a grocery bill that me and my husband, we have to do. People are like, "Oh, your husband is so great. He's done this, that, and the other." And my husband's the first one to tell everybody she works on her own. She helps put food on the table. She pays the bills, and we have it. I think that's what makes us a great team. And he helps with my struggle. And I struggle with even just being, confident at times. I walk into rooms, and I feel like everybody's staring at me, and they are, but for the reasons that I'm thinking are not the reasons why they're staring.
Sure. I tell folks what most people don't realize is being LGBTQ plus. It's not just I came out once and now I'm out forever. It's I have to come out on a regular basis, right? Like even I'm on the radio every now and then. I say it or I talk about it. But it's like every time you get a new job, every time you meet a new friend that you really like, that maybe it's not romantic, but it's, hey, I like this person. I want to be friends with them. What are they going to think, and what is their bias that they bring to the table? And so coming out is a constant thing that we're always doing, and you never know what the person on the other side is going to do. So it is a process, and it's not just, hey, I'm out and it is what it is. I think even with myself, there have been moments where I meet a group of people, or I start going to a new group of people, and I wonder, are they going to accept me for who I am, or the fact that I'm gay, is that going to be an issue for them and cause problems? Because I'm not going to lie, there have been circles that are not accepting of me as a gay man. I can't imagine what that is for you as someone who's trans. That must be much more.
That is a really, really good conversation right there, because even in our own community, there are people that don't think that the rest of the letters in the alphabet of LGBT, that starting from the T on down, does not belong, that we don't exist, that we should not exist, that we're not a part of that. And it's heartbreaking, and it's hard, and constantly coming out. For the longest time, I was the first trans woman on Tejano radio as a radio personality. I did that for about 1.5 years with Savannah V. And that was a constant struggle for me, because I didn't know what did the listeners know that I was a trans woman, and until I said, bleep it, I'm going to go ahead and do these things, and I'm going to be who I am.
Thank you for bleeping yourself, by the way. I appreciate you you bleeping yourself.
I bleep myself.
You know how to play the game.
I just don't like. I didn't know, and people were gonna, especially in the Latino community. Oh, yeah. I didn't know, and honestly, I never got any negative feedback. If any negative feedback, it was directed probably towards the radio station managers, or probably the owners or whatever. But they never brought that to my attention. They never once said it. They always said they loved my style and stuff. And so coming out constantly, even to this day, I stopped coming out. I just assume people know, because I'm always, in front of a camera, not because I choose to. It's because I feel I have to speak up, because if I don't, nobody else is, especially right now for trans individuals. It's extremely vital and important that I am at that forefront, because far too many times do we see, like, if take for instance, newscasts, right? They'll picture Pride, and all of a sudden you see the guy in the buttless chaps, and that's not every gay person.
That's always what they show, is that one guy that looks ridiculous.
or they show a drag queen that is, very, very very extravagant and outgoing, and that's not a trans person. That is a drag queen. That is who they are. And as a trans individual, I'm like, we've had representation, like my drag mother, Erica Andrews, Candace Kane, so many others that have been in mainstream that we're just like, that's a representation for trans individuals that I hope to be and inspire to be, actually.
No, absolutely. It's important that people see that LGBTQ plus, for my brothers, sisters, and siblings that are out there, it's important to live out loud and to live authentically if you're able to. Not everybody can, right? And so it's important for those of us that can, that we show up and that we show people that we are here, and that we're just everyday citizens. Like, somebody asked, what's the gay agenda in politics? I'm like, my gay agenda is getting up and having coffee, because if I don't have coffee...
You know what my gay agenda is?
What's that?
Getting them up to vote, getting them up to be excited about getting people in that are going to be for your views. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
Sure.
That's my gay agenda. My gay agenda is to get you to be if you get mad enough, and I always talk with my hands, I apologize. but if you get, that's the Latina in me. If you get mad enough to that you want this, that, and the other, I hope that the anger goes to a good spot. Go and fight for your rights. Go and vote for whatever it is that you do. But remember, somebody you love is also going to be in this position, and you might not agree. And even if you're LGBT, you may not agree with who I am, but the struggle is still there. I actually heard something earlier this morning that said, just because, do you hear the rhetoric now? That's the same language they used about gay individuals back in the 70s, back when Stonewall was happening. You had that same language. It's just a different group of people.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And many in the LGBT community are falling into that propaganda.
Yeah.
And what I feel is my job is to, let's take a conversation, bring it back, and listen to me as a human being. Because if you really get to know me, I'm really shy.
Yeah. That's, I don't believe you, but okay, sure. No, just teasing. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Lindsay, you have an event that you've got coming up. It's called Pride on the East Side.
I do. Pride on the East Side at Pittman Sullivan Park. It's from 5 to 9 p.m. Myself and West Care. I'm partnering up with West Care once again this year. Okay. And we have a lot of sponsors that are coming in. So many that I can remember. The Pride Center, Pride 210, are just a couple of those that are joining in. We do have the San Antonio AIDS Foundation coming in to do HIV testing free for the public to come in and do. It is going to be completely confidential. Nice. And it is free for everybody to come in. We're going to have free bottled waters for everybody that comes to the park. That is being sponsored by the Pegasus nightclub. Yeah, it's in the middle of summer, and June gets really hot. And while I'm down there, I'm going to celebrate my birthday, because my birthday is July 1st. And so I'm just going to celebrate. It's going to be like one big party for me.
Happy birthday. I love that. All right. Join Lindsay Andrews for Pride on the East Side, June 27th, starting at 5 p.m. at Pittman Sullivan Park. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us. Happy Pride, my friend, and know that we're fighting for you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
I'm Gina Hinojosa, and I'm running to be the next governor of Texas. I'm here with my friend who you might recognize, who's going to tell you why 2026 is the year that Texans are ready to vote out Greg Abbott.
Everybody in Texas, Gina is going to be the next great governor of this state because she's a fighter. She's running to take back power for working people by lowering your costs and making sure healthcare and quality public education are within reach.
So if you haven't already, text Texas to 80191 or visit ginafortexas.com and sign up to volunteer, make a donation, and let's make 2026 the year that Texans have a governor who's going to fight for them and not the billionaires.
Texas, you got 6 months left to make history. Let's make every single day count.
We are back on Platica Politica right here on KEDA Radio Jalapeno. Joining us this morning is one of my favorite human beings, Jason Maciate. He's the president of an amazing nonprofit called Hope and Heart. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We're taking a break from all of the deep, heavy politics that we're talking this morning to talk about something really special. This amazing organization, Hope at Heart. Tell us a little bit about your mission and what you do.
So we serve primarily families battling pediatric cancer, and we partner with 3 of the children's hospitals, Methodist Children's, Christus University Hospital, actually, and Vitas Healthcare hospice side. And so how we work, we serve our families is through non-medical drivers of health, or social determinants of health, which is bill pay, mortgage, rent, utility, making sure the lights are on, roof over their head, and they have groceries on the table. And that way they could focus on the healing of their child. But something specifically that just happened, we just got funding for sickle cell. University Hospital, UT Health, asked us if we could take on this challenge and help these families because it's another huge gap in our community. And we just got awarded our first funding from the African American Community Fund here in San Antonio, and Vulcan Materials is one of the ones that are sponsoring us for that program.
And that's interesting and really important work that you all do. I mean, parents that have children that are facing all sorts of cancer and now sickle cell and all these different things, you all take a load off of them, right?
Yes. The goal is to relieve the stress. We want to become a resource so the family can really focus on the healing and the other children. Most of our families have multiple children. We got to make sure that those focuses are not just on stress, right? It's already heavy enough, and there's not little to no support for both of the causes, which is pediatric cancer and sickle cell. And so we want it to be a game changer. We want to make sure that we bring awareness, and that way they feel a sense of community too, because a lot of these families don't feel like they have enough support in our community. And that's where we come in and let them know that, hey, we're here to help.
I can imagine, we've all had either a loved one in hospice or someone struggling with cancer or something where it becomes very encapsulated, you become very sheltered in that specific moment and dealing with that specific issue. So you all kind of step in to be that community and provide the support they need.
Absolutely. Making sure that they know that they're not alone is the most important thing. Like you said, if anybody's experienced that, initially you have family members that are reaching out the first few months, and then it slowly fades away. People kind of start doing their whatever their regular thing is going on in life, and then they feel like, where's my support? Who do I reach out to? Especially the men and fathers in our community. We need to make sure that we're there for them for mental health support. That's one of the things that we provide. And then we also have a program called Heaven's Way, which is end of life services for funeral, cause, celebration of life, and memorial services for these families.
Tell me about, I don't want to say your favorite family, because if I say, tell me about your favorite family, but tell me about an experience that really impacted and drives you on a daily basis.
Well, it'd be hard to not get a little choked up about this. And all of them are my favorite families. I can't do that. I'm a father myself, so servicing families with children is extremely important to me. But there was this one time when we were servicing a family during our weeks of giving, which is during Christmas time, right? And so as we're providing gifts and we're providing resources to pay utilities and helping this one mom out, the child that was ill wasn't available. So we brought in her other children. It was about 3 other children on top of that. And so as we're loading the gifts up and we're ending the time with them, the 11-year-old daughter stopped me at the door, and she looks at me. She's like, "Sir, thank you so much for doing this for my mom. She really needed it." And that was such a big moment for me. Number one, because that child has stepped into a role that they probably never thought they would have to help mom out. An 11-year-old to have that maturity and that ability to say something like that, knowing what her family's struggling through. And one of the things about serving our families is there's this unintentional neglect that happens to the other children in the family. It's unintentional. I want to clarify that, because they're in survival mode for that one child or individual that's going through this pain and suffering through this condition and the illness. And so that right there is why it keeps me going, knowing that I want to make sure that this 11-year-old will be able to feel like her age and get the resources that her family needs, so she doesn't feel like she has to carry the load. And that's one of many children that step up to the plate and say, I need to help mama out. I need to help dad out. And they have their own feelings that they need to feel. And luckily, we have a partnership with Our Lady of Lake University to provide counseling services for our families, including the children in the groups. They need to be heard and be listened to. And we want to be that resource for them and make sure, again, and I'll sound like a broken record, that they have a sense of community with us.
It's so important. And that's when we have to be there for our community the most, right? I quote Jesus all the time because he's my homeboy, but he said, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me, right? And so we as a community have to take care of the kids in our lives because they are our most precious commodity, and we value them. And it's great that you all are stepping up to do this work. We've got your website, hopeandheart.org, if folks want to learn more about this amazing organization, how you can get involved. Speaking of which,
Hope at Heart. Sorry about that.
It's Hope at Heart. Well, I want you to know that the internet has been messed up. But
it's okay.
Having said that, it's hopeatheart.org, right?
Right. That's correct. Hopeatheart.org.
Okay. So there is a way for folks to get involved and show their support. You've got an event coming up, right?
We do. So it's Low and Steady for a Cause. And our presenting sponsors are the Gomez Law Firm and our Commissioner Rebecca Clay Flores, which has been a huge advocate for colon cancer and our organization in general. But what we are seeing recently, and I've had conversations with other community leaders and other funders, that we have children. We have a 5-year-old child that was battling testicular cancer. We have a 17-year-old girl that's battling breast cancer. We have an 18-year-old boy that has colon cancer. So we're seeing illnesses, these types of cancers, in a younger generation that we normally see in the older group. So we do have a problem that's happening, and bringing awareness and making sure we have an event just to celebrate with the community that we exist, we're here, and we want you to know this is how you can support us. It's not just monetary, right? It's like, share, follow us, help us provide awareness so the families feel like there is some kind of support outside of just us, that there's a community backing them up. So this is what this event about. And again, thank you to the Lowrider community stepping up again. This is our second annual kind of show. It's a show and shine, where they come out and they display. And I don't know who doesn't love a lowrider car. It's beautiful vehicles. It's passionate. It's community members from veterans in the military to business professionals to take on this hobby and love to be part of our programs and fundraising.
And that's going to be on June 22nd at 2 p.m. at 2943 Masaryk, 78230, right across the street from the Gomez Law Firm. They're such amazing human beings. They always step up to help our community. What's the name of the event, and what can people expect when they go?
So Low and Steady for a Cause. It's a summer bash. What they could expect, we're going to have popcorn. We're going to have a corn truck. We'll have cotton candy, and we're only charging $1 for that. And all the proceeds go back to our pediatric cancer and our sickle cell site. And
wait, it's going to be $1?
The popcorn, cotton candy, and corn on the cob.
So I can get corn on a cup, a whole corn on a cup for $1?
For $1, yes.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm not sure if you heard of 210 Chismosa.
Yes.
She's a local celebrity and influencer. She has stepped up and said, I'm going to get these sponsors and I'm going to do this for you. And what a big heart. You got a lot of influencers out there. very much like you, having us, be part of your show. It makes a difference in our community. And she's like, hey, I'm not just about calling out actions. Like, I need to step up to the plate and I need to do something to give back. And she's a wonderful human being. Cecilia, thank you so much. Tu Chenchismosa, I got to call her out because she's providing this resource. And I mean, it's a small amount of love goes a long way. And that's what she's given us. So, and then Agua Azul, Erica, the owner for Agua Azul, is going to have 3 samples of her food at Agua Azul. And we're going to have drink tickets. I got to be careful with that. Only limited amount of drink tickets. But she's sharing her parking lot with us for the event. She's in-kinding all that for our organization.
Is there a cost to get in?
No, this is free to the public. Absolutely free.
The event is free admission, and you're going to have corn on the cob and popcorn and a bunch of stuff. All the items are only going to cost $1. Y'all need to come out there and support.
And we will have Big Bag Snacks, which is a lowrider community. There's going to be Chingona Cosmetics. It's themed for the event. So we have all of these wonderful people that are coming that are going to be part of this because they want to help participate. And whatever you purchase, they're going to give back. So on the lowrider community side, they're actually helping out and they're giving back. And I'm so honored and blessed to have them do this for us.
Listen, you had me at Big Bag Snacks.
It has a ring to
it. Be sure to join Hope at Heart on June 27th at 2 p.m. They're going to be at 2943 Moss Rock, right across the street from the Gomez Law Firm. Come celebrate with them. Jason, is there anything you want folks to know before you head out this morning? Yes, please follow us on social media, Hope at Heart. We have it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Like and share. Donate. So $5 goes to helping a family for transportation. So we pay for gas cards. $10 will help for groceries per month. $25 will help utilities. $50 and more can help with rent and mortgage. Help us help these families. It's just a little amount that can help give something special to the family so they feel, again, like they're not alone. So, thank you so much, Robert, for having me on your show. Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back right here on Platica Politica.
Estás escuchando Platica Política. Quédate con nosotros para enterarte de las últimas noticias, análisis políticos y un poco de chisme. Aquí en Queda Radio Jalapeño.
Así es. Escúchanos en directo, síguenos en las redes sociales o sintoniza donde quiera que escuches tus podcasts favoritos.
Mi gente, James Talarico siempre ha luchado por nosotros, enfrentándose sin miedo a los ricos y poderosos, primero como maestro y luego como legislador. Protegió la educación pública, logró aumentos en los salarios para maestros y derrotó a las grandes farmacéuticas, bajando el precio de la insulina. Y como senador seguirá luchando por nuestra gente. James Talarico, maestro, luchador y títere de nadie.
Soy James Talarico y apruebo este mensaje.
We are back here on Platica Politica. We're talking to Eric Holguin from Unidos USA. How are you doing, Eric?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. Came across some amazing information that you guys are putting out. Every year you do an annual poll, right?
Yeah. Especially around election time, we start getting a poll to see how voters are feeling.
So why does Unidos USA care about running these polls?
So just top of the thing, we're a national Hispanic civil rights organization. So we do a lot of issue advocacy work. We have other arms that do other aspects of work, but I work under the policy and advocacy arm. And so we really want to make sure that the policies that we're pushing for reflect the values and the concerns of the community. And so we always like to get a good sense of what voters are feeling, not just in battleground districts, but across the state. We break it down by Catholic, by immigration status, by urban, suburban, rural, age. We really get into the nitty gritty. So we do this polling just to ensure that we know what voters are feeling.
That's amazing. Now, for those that are not familiar, Unidos USA started off as National Council of La Raza, right?
Yes, back in the 60s.
Back in the 60s, way back when. So we hear a lot about polls, whenever you're watching the news or, whether it's CNN or maybe Fox or whoever, you hear, oh, the latest poll says this or the latest poll says that. But how did you guys conduct this poll or what does that mean?
Yeah. So whenever we do this poll, we always make sure to note that it's a bipartisan poll. So,
Okay.
a poll that you might find on Fox, they may have just polled Republican voters with a couple of Democrats just to skew, results. Poll results can be, played with however the poller likes to do, but
Sure.
we really make sure that we're polling both Democrats, Republicans, independents of all ages. And so what we do is we work with a polling company, a research polling company, and we put it out into the field. And it's not just like phone calls. So it's not typically when you think of polls, people think you're just calling a landline where only people 75 years old and up has it. We're doing it through text. We're doing it through phone calls. We're doing it virtually, online as well. And so that helps us capture people who communicate through different ways of communication. And so we really want to make sure that our sample size is large enough so that way we're able to get everyone. And when I say sample size, I know that's like a wonky term. Sample size is you want to make sure that the number of people that you're polling is large enough so that way you get a good sense of how many you get a good sense of what people are actually thinking and feeling. Because if you have like a small sample size, if you only poll like 15 people, that's not really reflective of what people might be feeling. So you need to have a larger number. And this is going into even more wonky stuff. If you have too large of a number, then it could start skewing things a different way. So there's a lot of scientific research that goes into conducting these polls to make sure that they're fair, that they're equitable, that they're reflective of what people are feeling.
So what were some of the key findings? What did you guys figure out with this poll?
Yeah, so this poll, and honestly, it hasn't really changed over the past few years. The number one issue that people are feeling is economic pressure, and so that was a case last year. That was a case in 2022 as well, and so that's the main thing, that people are concerned about cost of living. They're concerned about their jobs. They're concerned about cost of healthcare. So those were some of the main ones. Also, one of the big things, in 2024, there was this big narrative that Latino voters went for Trump. And that may have been true. But one of the things that I thought was interesting was in this poll, 1 in 5 Latino voters that voted for Trump regret that vote and would not vote for him again. 1 in 5 means 20%. You're in politics. If you lose 20% of your base of a specific demographic, that is like lethal to a political career. And so we're seeing that Latino voters, as we've expected, are not a monolith. So before we saw the shift to Trump, it was always like, oh, Latino voters are always going to vote Democrat. And then Trump came along, that dispelled that myth. So we're seeing that Latino voters care about what candidates are going to plan to do for them, or what elected officials are doing for them. And in the past, at the National Democratic Party, there was always like, okay, we're going to talk to Latino voters. We just need to talk to them about immigration. And it's like, no, immigration is an aspect of our lives, and depending on where we live in the country or in the state, it plays a role, but it's not the top of the line. I think it ranked like 5th or something like that. In this poll, we care about our pocketbooks, and I think that's what people need to understand, and that's what candidates and political parties need to understand, that right now, with the cost of living going up, with gas prices going over $4 an hour here in Texas, when we pride ourselves on being oil, the oil-rich state, it's concerning. And so those are some of the main ones that we found. But a lot of people are not concerned. A lot of Latino voters are not happy with Trump, and 84% of Hispanic voters, both Republican and Democrat combined, are not happy about Congress not exercising their checks and balances role on the president as well.
That's interesting. And I think that as you talk about what people care about, right? What do they care about? What are they following? it's important to note that I really do believe that as Latinos, that we pay attention to the elections, right? It's not just, hey, we're going to always vote Democrat, we're always going to vote Republican. I think that I think as Latinos, a lot of our folks, they do their research, they do their homework, and they want to know what it is that we actually care about, and or what is a politician actually going to do for us. And, I think unlike other cultures, the Latino community is quick to throw somebody under the bus that they feel is not doing the right thing, right? We will flip on this person and say, just because you're my friend or my mijo or my neighbor doesn't mean I'm going to always vote for you. It means that I expect you to do what's right at all times.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that, and I've been having this kind of tough conversation lately, is if Democrats want to win, ever since Trump got elected the second time, even after the first time, there is always this animosity, especially within the Latino community, against other Latinos that voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're seeing right now that Latino voters that previously voted for Trump are looking for somewhere else to go. They're looking for other candidates.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of, and I get it. Like I'm probably guilty a little bit of it too, of the whole blaming and shaming of like, you should not have blah, 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 blah. They don't care about you. All the talking points we hear. But what I say is, do you want to feel good right now, or do you want to feel good election night?
Yeah.
And so what Latino voters need to do is that Latino voters that vote Democrat, we kind of got to stop this whole blaming and shaming and start kind of welcoming people to their side, so that way they could vote for the candidates that they want. And I know some people don't want to hear that, but I think it's an honest truth where we have to start building those bridges. And whether someone voted for Trump 3 times or 2 times or even 1 time, we're not going to rebuild our country and bring back democracy fully if we're just constantly casting people aside. We win by addition, not by subtraction.
I saw that half of Texas Hispanic voters are not confident that the government will respect their rights. And that, to me, is someone, I've been involved in politics for over 20 years now. And I believe that a government for the people, by the people is what best serves, right? At the end of the day, we elect people at the local level, and we elect people that are going to do what's right by the community. So it's concerning to me. I think what's very concerning is that people don't feel that the government will respect their rights and liberties. What are your thoughts on that?
That is something that I heard a lot at doors over the past year, through the campaign side and even in the past. And in 2024, we kept hearing the word democracy. We're concerned about our democracy. I always say people don't know what democracy means. Not to insult people's intelligence, but it's such a broad term that it could mean anything.
Big term that could mean a bunch of different things.
Yeah, it can mean a bunch of different things. But one of the things that I kept hearing at doors was, I'm concerned about, I don't recognize our country anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that falls in line with concerns of government overreach, of not protecting civil liberties. And so people are starting to recognize that our democracy is falling apart, and that the government is doing absolutely nothing to protect it. And in fact, they're actively trying to retract civil liberties from not just immigrant communities, but from U.S. citizens as well that are predominantly Latino and Black. And so, it's just one of those things where people are starting to realize, hey, democracy is not holding up, and that's starting to become very concerning.
No, absolutely. One of the things that surprised me the most about the poll was that when you look at, when we're talking about the president and things like that, it was a high percentage of folks that were concerned with immigration enforcement in U.S. cities, talking about arrests, deportations, and things like that. Before, in the last election, people were concerned about immigration because they felt like Democrats didn't have a plan. They elected Trump, and now they're concerned that immigration is doing too much.
Yeah. So in the past, Democrats have historically been awful on messaging about immigration. It's
Yes.
like the third rail that they do not want to touch, but except that they will only kind of talk to Latinos about immigration. It's this weird thing that they don't want to. They don't want to confront they didn't in the past. They didn't want to confront the security aspect of immigration. They just wanted to confront the citizenship aspect of immigration. And so right now, they're seeing they're literally their neighbors disappear, their coworkers disappear. In the past, immigration kind of seemed like this national talking point. It was kind of in the distance, wasn't really in our circles. Then it kind of got closer and closer, and now it's like literally quite in our neighborhoods, where ICE is just driving around, looking at construction sites and going into restaurants and snatching people up. And it's not just an immigration and humanitarian concern; it's an economic concern as well. And I know some people might say, "Oh, we can't tie immigrants and economics together because whatever." The role that harsh immigration policies has in our economy is significant, especially here in the Rio Grande Valley, where the construction industry, a lot of their workers are immigrant workers and have suffered the largest loss. So whenever your construction workers are being picked up, when your farm workers are being picked up, when your restaurant workers are being picked up, that raises prices for everyone. And so it's important that we kind of hold people's hands sometimes and say, hey, you may be anti-immigrant for some reason, but you being anti-immigrant and supporting those policies is contributing to your higher cost of living. And so I
also think that the narrative that Trump was pushing was, we're going to get rid of criminals, right? Yeah. We're going to get criminals out of this country. And oh, by the way, all these criminals that are here are a bunch of illegals, right? And as they've gone on and as they begin to implement that Project 2035 or whatever it was called, it became more about just getting rid of Latinos as a whole, right? If you're saying that I want to get rid of criminals and bad people, they're not at job sites. They're not working an 8 to 5, right? They're not building houses. They're not serving our community as restaurant workers, right? And they're certainly not showing up to court for their immigration cases. Right. And so this administration has gone completely off the rails the way they treat our community. And so to the extent that, we saw that, I Love Trump lady who was jumping up and down screaming, who then later on got deported. Right. And so I do believe and this is my little rant, that as a Democrat, or that the Democratic Party really needs to do a better job with messaging around immigration. The reality is that Latinos are a very important base within the community. And the Democratic Party is not going to win without minorities, and Latinos especially. And instead of ignoring the issue and pretending it's going to go away, at some point there has to be some sort of message.
Yeah. And the message is that immigration, again, plays a role in every aspect of people's lives, and it's not just, they're not just going, you mentioned the criminals aspect. One, sure, like they might be getting small factions of criminals, but like 80%, but they're also releasing criminals, from prison, the January 6th in them. 80% of the people being held in these detention centers have no criminal record. And what they're also doing is, we're all familiar with DACA. Only Congress has the power to overturn DACA at this point. Trump knows is that the courts will rule against him if he tries to shut it down. But what he's doing, since he controls the agencies that process the applications for DACA, all of these different avenues, whether you're DACA, whether you're a green card holder, whether you're here in some sort of temporary status, they're intentionally delaying your application so that way your time expires, that you're here, and say, oh, well, you're past your deadline, now we get to deport you. And so he's dismantling DACA protections administratively. And so that's why you're starting to hear more and more about DACA people. They're not kids anymore. They're all full-grown adults But
Yeah.
DACA people be detained because their paperwork just isn't being processed. And if they try to get an explanation, it's like, oh, it's just delays, and they give the bureaucracy red tape excuse. But that delay is tied with the time that they're allowed to be here under DACA protected status. They're doing it with green card holders as well. And so he doesn't have the legal authority to completely dismantle immigration pathways, but he does have the authority to administratively delay processes that are needed for our immigrants to stay here legally. And then he could have DHS or ICE go pick these people up because they're past their allotted time. So that's what's going on as well.
So I see in the poll that people are really concerned about inflation, and that they're driven by worries about basic living expenses. And basically they're funded or fueled by energy prices, right? Like food and basic living expenses, cost of gas and electricity, the cost of buying and renting a place to live. Those are some of the top priorities that you saw. Is that correct?
Yeah. Gas, grocery prices, healthcare cost, everything's just going up. I mean, I paid my electric bill this month, and it's gone up $200 over the past few months.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm not using anything out of the ordinary. And so, in gas, I fortunately got a EV truck under Biden. Thank you, Biden, for getting me the tax credit to afford that. So I personally have been safe from gas prices, but a lot of people are not. And one of the things that people feel most is the check that they have to write or the money being debited from their account. Because they see that's an immediate, literal, when you go pay that grocery bill at HEB, you see that grocery bill. So it's not like some hypothetical number. It's like literal right there hitting your account. And the irony, comical thing is during the 2024 election, I don't know if you saw them up in San Antonio, but across South Texas, they had those 4x8 signs where I had Kamala Harris on one side with a bag of groceries in front of her where it cost $284 or something. And then Trump on the other side with a bag of groceries in front of him that was $84. And so the irony that it's projection. Projection is a confession.
Yeah, absolutely. And he promised to, the Trump administration promised that eggs were going to be down immediately, and they're at the highest cost that they've ever been, right? He said that gas was going to come down, and gas is at the highest that it's ever been. So yeah, we're definitely seeing it was a lot of lies. And I think Chairman Scudder of the Texas Democratic Party says all the time is that folks were lied to and they were conned by a con artist in chief. And that's why they fell for those things. And it's unfortunate, right? Because, if someone tells you I'm going to bring down the cost of eggs or the cost of gas, I mean, who wouldn't want to vote for that, right? But the reality is that's not the work they've been doing. I want to ask one last question. Was there anything specifically that surprised you about this poll? Any data that you look at going, I was not expecting that?
Yeah, I think that it surprised me, and it kind of helped reaffirm what I kind of had been thinking prior to the poll. Was, I don't know if you saw the part where the people that were polled, they said that they would vote for Democrats not because of the Democratic candidate, but because of the environment right now. Whereas Republicans are tied more to Republican candidates than the environment. And so Democrats should kind of be concerned with that, because if people are not supporting Democratic candidates from like a personal political level, in 2028, if Democrats do not deliver in some sort of capacity, they might just go back to the other side. And so the environment is ripe right now for Democratic candidates to win, not because people are gung-ho about Democrats. People are just like, well, Republicans have destroyed this country and are raising our costs. Democrats, I guess, are the other option. And so that's not necessarily a position you want to be in as a political party or as a candidate of people just supporting you by default. So Democrats really need to make sure that they're collectively messaging correctly and talking to voters And then when they get into office, because I think we're going to have a big sweep this November with Democratic candidates coming in, when they get into office, actually delivering. So that way in 2028, hopefully we have an election in 2028 when we have the Democratic presidents running, that they could say, hey, Democrats took over the House, they took over the state legislature, they took over the governorship, and we delivered. They delivered. And so that's something that caught my eye.
All right. Well, listen, Eric, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and talking about this. We are going to have this poll on the Platica Politica social media channel, so you can go on Facebook and everywhere else to see the actual link to the poll. Or you can go to unidosusa.org, unidosus.org. I was driving myself crazy trying to find your website. There's no A in the website. It's unidosus.org. Is there anything you want folks to know before we head out this morning?
No, I mean, make sure everyone in your family is registered to vote. It's going to take all of us to win this November. So we've got to get out there and talk about these issues. Talk about cost of living. Stick to that.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Platica Politica right here on KEDA Radio Jalapeno, on Facebook, and anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. We'll be right back.
Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar. If you're seeking a law enforcement career that offers competitive pay and excellent benefits in a county that truly respects and supports its law enforcement professionals with a history dating back to 1731 in a safe, welcoming community where you can confidently raise your family and where the cost of living is truly sustainable, then consider starting your career with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. Call 210-335-JOBS or text deputy to 210-934-7028 to learn more.
As we wrap up today's edition of Platica Politica, I want to thank all of our guests for joining us and sharing their stories, insights, and experiences. A special thank you to Lindsay Andrews for her courage, authenticity, and advocacy. Conversations like these remind us that LGBTQ plus pride is about more than celebrations and parades. It's about visibility, dignity, and the ongoing fight for equality. As someone who is proudly part of the LGBTQ plus community, Pride Month always holds a special place in my heart. It's a time to honor those who came before us and those who fought for our rights and those who continue to stand up for a world where everyone can live out their American dream as they see fit, openly and authentically. It's also a reminder that our work isn't finished. We must continue to speak out against discrimination, support one another, and build communities where every person is valued and respected. To our LGBTQ plus listeners, know that you're seen, you're loved, and you belong in San Antonio and in Texas and anywhere else you choose to be. Your story matters. And a special thanks to Eric Holguin from Unidos USA for helping us better understand what Latino communities across Texas and the nation are thinking about the challenges and opportunities facing our country. I also want to give a shout out to my friend Jason Maciate from Hope at Heart for highlighting the incredible work being done to support families whose children are battling cancer. And thank you for spending a part of your Saturday with us. If you missed any portion of today's show, be sure to follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can watch the full program online. So until next time, stay informed, stay encouraged, and keep working to build a stronger, more inclusive Texas for everyone. God bless you all.